You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm getting nervous. Okay. Okay. Wow. I'm like really nervous. Okay. What's going on, a&kfam? You're probably wondering, where the heck is Alec? He is actually behind the camera today because today is kind of all about me. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this as fluid as possible because I don't want it. This is the type of video that I want to be just raw and just out there because it is very personal and it does take a lot for me to come out and say things. But I want to be honest, and as me and Alec grow, I want you guys to know us for us and who we are, not something that we're trying to portray, because Alec and I really care about being true to ourselves and being the people that we want to be, and we want to show you guys that. So I'm going to try my hardest to not say and make so many like pauses, but it is a hard subject for me to talk about. So as I was saying, a lot of you guys have asked like, oh, is she serious? Like, is she actually adopted? Yes, I am actually adopted. My whole family is actually adopted, but I'll go into that later. Full-blooded, I am a family of 5. I have 3 older brothers, an older sister, and me. I do not know my full-blooded sister. She actually got adopted by a different family, but I'll explain all that later. To start off with, I did not know that okay. Let's start from the beginning. I lived with my mom in Vegas. This is my birth mom, so my real actual blood-related mom. I lived with in Vegas, and when she gave birth to me, apparently there was no one in the hospital except for her. My dad, I don't know very well. All I know about him is that all I can remember from him is the fact that he's bald and he is tall and used to give me sprayable cheese, which is really random, but that's all I literally remember. I don't remember a lot about him because he wasn't really part of my life. Growing up, it was mainly just me and my mom. That's most of my memory. When I was little, that's all I really saw, except for those few memories that I can remember from my dad. I didn't have a family. My blood-related families, so my dad's side and my mom's side didn't even know about me. I was living in Vegas with my mom all by myself, and my mom was, and still partly is, an alcoholic and a drug addict. When I was born, I had meth and cocaine in my system, so I am a drug baby. But it was hard. It was really hard growing up and not knowing what a family was and feeling scared sometimes and feeling like I didn't even know if I would be able to make it through the day, to be honest. Wow, this is real. My mom was in a very abusive, physically and mentally, relationship with my dad. As far as I know, he was very abusive, and that's all he knew what to do, was to fight and hit and scream. I remember, it's crazy for me to think this because of the fact that I think I was only like probably a year or 2 old, but I remember one time my mom, very, very vividly I remember my mom holding me, and my dad came home and was really upset and was screaming, and he went to go hit my mom and missed and hit me, and I fell to the floor, and all I remember is crying my eyes out. He was a very bad man, and that's all I really know about him. From the very beginning of what I remember, my mom would do drugs and smoke and drink in front of me. I used to tell her that it smelled so bad, and she smelled so bad. And it's crazy to think that like a 2 or 3-year-old child, like your baby, is telling you like that, Mom, you stink, you don't smell good. And like how I didn't understand. I mean, I put 2 and 2 together. I understand that she was drinking alcohol and that's what made her smell bad. What? Alright guys, I had a cut. Alec was telling me that my glasses were making me the camera glary and whatever, so I don't think I look good, but he told me I had to take my glasses off, whatever. So as I was saying, it was crazy to me because although I was so young and didn't really understand like the reason why she acted was because she was drinking or on drugs. I didn't understand that. Like, my mom was my mom, and that's all I knew. I didn't know a lot of things because I wasn't taught. I didn't go to preschool. I started kindergarten when I was almost 6 years old, almost like 5.5 years old I started kindergarten, which is crazy because, you know, usually you start at 4. And so I had a hard beginning, and the memories of my dad was terrible. And when I was actually born a few months later, I was taken away from my mom, which I didn't know about until a couple years ago. I was taken away from her by Child Services, and then somehow, I don't understand how, but somehow she got me back, and so we started living together again. Eventually, I think when I was 2.5 to almost 3 years old, we moved away from my dad. My mom just couldn't take it anymore, and she moved away, and we lived in a separate part of Vegas with just me and her, and it was really, really hard because we didn't have money. She didn't have a job. She couldn't do much. A lot of times, what I remember is us being scared that we weren't gonna eat, and I remember a couple times sleeping in her friend's car because we had nowhere to sleep. And then she met Nick. Nick is, for my childhood, kind of represented my dad. He was a person that let us stay with him. My mom began like romantic relationships with him, so they were together, dating, not married. And he was good because he provided us what we needed: food, shelter, and a place that we could be safe with. Somewhere that we wouldn't be scared that my dad was going to come and get us and tell us to move back and threaten my mom that she had to move back or something bad was going to happen. So he was a comfortable spot for both of us, and we felt safe. And the only few memories that I have from him was that my treats that he would give me was little yogurts, and he would let me like sit down and watch TV for like hours. And every single time I would take my shower or like bath when I was little, and I was like in my clothes, he would brush my hair and sing to me. That's the only memories that I have of him. Like, he was a really good person for my mom at that time, since she was on alcohol and smoking and doing drugs and all these bad things. He provided us with what we didn't have. Then I visited his family to spend a couple nights because my mom and Nick wanted to go out on a date or like spend a weekend together alone or something like that. And I remember my mom picking me up like the next day. They were supposed to be gone for a couple days. I remember my mom picking me up the next day and telling me, like, crying her eyes out, like, Nick got shot, Nick got shot. And I didn't understand. I understand that he was gone, like he passed away. But obviously, like, being so young, you're kind of confused, like, how did he get shot? What was going on? I later found out that he was actually in a gang and he wanted, because of us, he wanted to get out of it because he was ready to start a family and be a good, not a good person, but have a job and provide for us, not be caught up in a gang who does bad things. And you know, and if you know anything about gangs, or what, at least what I understand, I might be wrong, once you're in a gang, you're in a gang forever. There's nothing that you can get away from it. Like, you can't just step out of a gang and just be like, alright guys, I don't want to be with you anymore, bye. You know, you're in there for life. It's a commitment, and people didn't like that he wanted to get out of it, and they shot him. So apparently after Nick passed away, we found out that the gang, or he owed someone money or something, and so they went after us because obviously they're gonna think, well, we're family, so of course they'll have money or whatever they owed him or he owed them, and we didn't. So we ran away. And that was more of the parts where I would be sleeping in cars and jumping from shelter to shelter, like home shelters. It was really, really rough. I felt like we were not only unsafe from my dad possibly popping up, or not being safe from anyone because we were always on the run. It's just crazy because a 3-year-old child to not have to go through that. And it's crazy for me that I remember all this because it was just such a dramatic time where, like, I truly actually remember all this stuff. And then next thing I know, my mom got arrested. I don't know what she got arrested for. Maybe it was drugs or being drunk in public. I don't know what it was, but she got arrested and I got taken away from her. And the cops came and took me away, and all she told me was that it was going to be over soon and she was going to have me back, and this is only temporary, you're fine, you're okay. And I was in such a sick atmosphere where I actually asked the cops, I remember this, which is really weird, but I actually asked the cops, like, am I getting arrested? Am I going to jail? Because that's all I knew. My dad was in and out of jail. Nick, actually, before he met us, just came out of jail. My mom was in and out of jail a couple times. So that's all I knew. When you see cops, you don't think good things. All I knew was, oh, you know, something bad was going to happen. And they told me, no, you're just getting it taken away from your mom. You'll see her soon. She'll be able to visit you, but you're getting taken away. And that's when I moved into the orphanage. Somewhere in Las Vegas. I lived in, I don't know exactly what orphanage it was, but I remember it was a pretty big place. When you walked in, there was a room with lined up little beds for boys, and then next door they had lined up beds for girls, and then next to that was a bathroom and shower area. And then there was like a screen that they would put movies on, and the kitchen area where you would eat food, and then back up front on the left hand side there was like a little small like playground area where we would get to play, but it was all gated, so then obviously you couldn't just run freely. It was a very small like little play area, probably not even bigger like than my room, honestly. It was not big at all, but I went in that, I don't think I spent longer than a couple months there, I would say. And they had a strict routine. You had to be in bed obviously very early. You had to have playtime and bedtime, and meals had to be at a certain time, and showers had to be at a certain time. And I don't remember much from that aside from just, I remember, this is going to sound really messed up, but I'm here to tell the truth, but I remember when I was little, there was a stuffed animal that this child had, this little girl had, and she was the bunk, like not bunk, but bed next to me, and she loved that bear. And I took it. I actually still have it. I took it from her because I wanted something to have. And like, I feel like when you come from nothing, like it's wrong for me to steal something, you know, that this little girl admired. And now that I think about it, it's really messed up. But it's just like, all I had was a picture of me and my mom, and that's all I possessed, was just a couple clothes and a picture of me and my mom. That's it. And, you know, she was so happy with this bear. I thought that if I had the bear, then I would be happy too. And I actually still have it. It's right on my shelf. But I don't remember much of an orphanage. All I remember is that, and also getting bathed by a man, and he would, like, he was known for, like, scrubbing you so hard that you're, like, literally your whole body would be red. I mean, like, it was so painful. And I remember everyone would hate when they were showered by him, because he would just scrub the crap out of you, and you would be just red and just so hot from the hot water that he would use. It was just terrible. And then eventually, I guess there was a certain time that children were taken in the orphanage, and then after a while you would, you know, go into foster homes if, you know, people were interested in you. And so I got a couple offers from foster families that wanted to possibly adopt me and have me live. And there's like not like a trial, but when you go from an orphanage to a foster home, or this is at least how I remember it working, there would be like a week or a few days or a week that you would spend with them, and then the family would decide if they think you're a good fit or not for the family. So I remember hating the idea of moving to a foster home. Honestly, I would want to be in the orphanage and not have a family, because to me, I didn't know what a family was. So I'd rather be there in an orphanage with just a whole bunch of other kids living the way that I was, rather than being in a family, because all I wanted was my mom. To me, like, I didn't want to be, either I was at the orphanage seeing my mom every couple of days because she was allowed visits once she was out of jail, or just be with my mom. That's all I cared about. So I hated going to foster families. I would act up, be like, I want to go home, cry, I want to be taken back, I want to be taken back. And I think I went through about 4 or 5 foster families that just kept on taking me back because I just didn't want to be there, or I would purposely act up so then they would take me back. And finally the orphanage was telling me, Kianna, you need to, you know, behave, because people are, you know, wanting to put you in their families, and you can't keep coming back here. Eventually you're gonna have to move on and, like, be adopted. And I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it, and I went to a couple more foster families, and then I was stuck with one foster family. With this foster family, it was a couple, like probably mid-40s or so, and they had all adopted children. So it was an adopted boy and an adopted girl, and then me. And I remember they were really super strict with, like, rules. So one half of our, like, bedroom area, one half of it, one room actually, would be the boys' room, and then on the other side it would be the girls' room. So it would have 2 beds for me and then the girl that was living there. And we were probably, I would say, the boy was a couple, 3 to 4 years older than us, but the girl that was with me, I think it was around either my age or maybe a year older, like very, very close in age. And we weren't allowed to cross a certain line to the boys' room. They did not want, like, the girls to be in the boys' room at all. I don't know why. They just didn't think it was right. They were really strict with everything. So we weren't allowed to be there. And there was, like, a couple times where, like, I remember, like, the other girl would sneak over to the room, and then she would get in trouble. And I don't remember much, but all I remember was them, like, we would get hit if, not like beat, but we would get hit if you did something wrong, whether the rules were broken. And I remember one time, this family was really strange. I remember one time I did something that I didn't like, and they, like, the dad took me and like lifted me upside down and like dunked my head in the pool a few times, and like they were laughing at it, and like I was scared for my life because like who does that to a child? Like that's so messed up. Like I just can't imagine doing that to any kid, let alone not your own. It was just like not a good time, and I don't remember much, but that's the only few things that I remembered. And I don't remember much from that foster family, but that was actually my last foster family that I ever had. And then I got told one day by them that I was getting a new family, and that in like a week or so they were gonna come pick me up and I was gonna leave. And I was really excited because like I didn't like that place at all, and I thought like honestly if I'm not allowed to go back to the orphanage, anything is better than this home. I'm just done with this family. They were really strange. Their rules were strange. It was just a very awkward environment. Would I rather be in that family than be on the streets? Yes, definitely. But it was just not a good atmosphere at all. So then one day I got taken away and I got put into a family that is the family that I live with now. So it was actually my birth mom's parents, which is my blood related grandparents, adopted me. And they adopted actually 3 of my blood related brothers, Justin, Travis, and Dylan. They didn't adopt my sister, I don't know why, but she actually got adopted from my dad's side. My dad's sister, she got adopted. I never see her. I don't know much about her. It sucks that we were separated, but that's just how it was. And so she's living her life and I'm just living mine here. And once everything that I talked about previous to my grandparents were all in Vegas, and then I moved out here to California, and I've been here ever since. I was taken into the family at 4, because I wouldn't say adopted because legally I wasn't adopted until I was 6 years old. So I was taken here when I was almost 5. It was like a month or 2 before my birthday. So technically I was 5 years old, and I didn't get adopted until a couple years later. Like I was 6 or almost 7 years old. So I've been here ever since, and I've lived my life here ever since, and I've lived with my grandparents ever since, and I lived with my brothers ever since, and now we're all older because I am 19 years old. So all my brothers have moved out, and yeah, this is my life. Some people think it's like weird that I live with my grandparents. Right now I live with only one grandparent, but that's a different story for another time. So yeah, I'm here now, and that's what's going on. So alright, thank you guys for listening, I guess. One of you guys actually requested for us to do a story time, and I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity because a lot of you guys had questions about my adoption and exactly what happened with that and why I'm adopted. So yeah, and that's also why I think I mentioned in a previous video that I have 2 last names. So that's my full name involves 2 last names. So that's why I also have 2 last names. But if you guys were wondering, that's my whole story about my adoption. I have many things that have happened in my life that's made me who I am, and that's definitely one part of it. So thank you so much for watching. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!